Greetings, creeps, and welcome to Horror Girl Problems, the podcast/videocast. And today we are joined by Boys from County Hell writer-director Chris Baugh. This is a super duper fun horror comedy out of Ireland, and I'm gonna let Chris tell you about it. All right, writer-director of Boys from County Hell, Chris Baugh. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me.
So, how do you feel? Are you excited? Your film drops on Shudder this week.
Very excited. I'm a big fan of Shudder myself. I have the subscription and watch it all the time, so I couldn't think of a better home for it. So yeah, we're really excited to see what audiences are gonna think of it.
Nice. This was a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Like I was like, I had a really good time. It's one of those ones where I'm like going like, oh my god, and like cheering at the screen and stuff. And those are my favorite kind of horror movies. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. That's good. I'm glad you were cheering.
So this was originally a short film that you made in 2013. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Did you always intend for it to become a feature, or did it just kind of develop from there?
No, it was like a proof of concept back in 2013 because like I had written this script, the feature version of Boys from County Hell, like years ago, and me and my producing partner went off and made this short proof of concept, and just thought, oh yeah, we'll just make this short, and then right after that, people will give us like millions of dollars to go and make this feature, and that didn't happen, obviously. And kind of thankfully as well, because at that point in our careers, we probably weren't ready to take on the feature version of it because it has a lot of effects and stunts and all that kind of thing. So we went off and made another feature first, and then sort of circled back to Boys from County Hell, a few years later.
Nice. Awesome. Speaking of effects, there are a lot of really cool effects in here. Did you guys do all practical? Was it a mix of like CGI and practical?
It was mostly practical. Like it was always my kind of intention to have most of the film have that kind of 80s horror aesthetic, practical effect aesthetic. I just think it looks cool. It looks kind of tactile and real, and it's harder to do whenever you're shooting. It takes longer to set up and all that kind of thing. It was always the intention. And then there's some CGI kind of sprinkled on top of it, but I would say like 90% is practical.
Okay. I do have a question. It's not a spoiler because it happens. It's like kind of the first effect that you see. And there's blood, we'll say, coming out of various orifices.
Yeah.
But it's just in such a way, like that one had to be a bit of CGI, right? Like maybe practical and CGI, but just the way that it was like pooling and coming out, I was like, how are they doing this?
Yeah, we just got a knife and stuck it in his eye. No.
There you go.
It was practical. The blood was actually practical, running down the face, and then we just painted out like pipes. The pipes that we used, they were sort of painted out after this. That was the first scene we shot.
Yeah.
The very first thing we shot were those blood effects, and we were terrified whether they would work or not. First day of the shoot, we just made it quite hard for ourselves. We were like, oh, it's taken a while, but it works,
Yeah. No, it was a really cool payoff because I was staring at it and I was like, the way that it's coming out, like I can't figure out how exactly they did that, and I was just like staring at it, like what the fuck.
Yeah. No, it was tubing, like, and then we just painted out the tubing afterwards. So because we wanted the blood to look real on the face and stuff. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I was, and it kind of like kicks off like pretty early with that scene. So it's like, what am I watching and what am I getting into? And then I was just like stoked for the whole movie, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of it.
Yeah. We wanted to have that sort of that big sort of horror prologue before we get into the more sort of character-driven stuff for the first sort of 20 minutes of the film. So it was important to have that there's blood and gore coming. It's going.
It was like an appetizer, and like we're gonna circle back around to that. We got to do some other stuff here, and then we promise we'll come back to that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to say any spoilers or anything, so why don't you tell us what this is about?
It's about a group of workmen in small town Northern Ireland who spend their days drinking and bullshitting tourists that the inspiration for Dracula is buried in a field outside their town, but they don't really believe it. They just think it's just a gag. But whenever they're kind of tasked with building a road through the sort of area where this thing is supposed to be buried, they accidentally awaken it and have to spend surviving and realizing that a lot of the rules and tropes that they think and weaponry and stuff that they think works against vampires actually doesn't. And trying to figure out what the rules are and what works and what doesn't. It's kind of the fun of it. And it's about a bunch of guys who you would never really want to have protecting you from a horrific vampire that's about to take over your town. That was kind of the genesis of the project, or the idea was to try to make something that felt like authentic to where I'm from in Northern Ireland and the kinds of characters, and the kinds of people that I grew up around, and to do that and make it feel very sort of authentic and specific to that part of the country and that part of the world, but to also do it within the architecture of the vampire genre, so that hopefully it feels universal as well. That was the intention anyway.
Right. That's also rules and things like that make us feel very safe, like rules and structure. So it was kind of a cool way to go into this thinking like, okay, I kind of know the rules and how this works and how you defeat a vampire. And then there's just things that are not working. And that's scary because then it's kind of thrown into like chaos and the rules do not apply. And then it's like, well, then I don't know what the hell to do. Like, I don't know. I tried everything that are like what I know the mythology to be, and it's not working. And that adds an extra layer of like horror to it, I think.
Yeah, no, I think like it was fun just in the research and writing it. We came across this idea, this story of the creature of Avertak, and who's supposedly, not even supposedly, it's like kind of a myth that perhaps, there was a little bit of an inspiration there for Bram Stoker, but nobody really knows. And we just thought it would be fun if our characters thought that and thought they had kind of, they had been shortchanged because no one talks about their town whenever they talk about Bram Stoker. But anyway, the most fun thing about Avertak that we found in the mythology of that character was that he can't be killed. He can only be subdued by like burying him and piling the grave with stones to kind of keep him locked in the ground. So we just thought that would be a fun sort of way into this mythology. Like a creature that can't actually be killed but has to be just subdued in some way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys made up that whole thing about like the mythology, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is this is an actual legend, like. And then I was curious, like, if people do think like, did Bram Stoker like just like rip this off and never credit it?
Yeah, no, I think there's like, again, for us, it wasn't trying to say that did or didn't happen. It was more coming from a place of character,
Right.
the humor of these guys who, like I say, feel kind of slighted and shortchanged because they got nothing else going on in their town. And that was really the whole thing, the whole sort of driving force behind the film was that it would all come from, the mythology stuff was fun and the vampire tropes were fun and, playing with the rules, but it all had to come from character.
Mm-hmm. And that worked really well because I feel like it feels like, regardless of where you're from, I feel like everyone can kind of relate to that. Like the friends that you grew up with and the kinds of things that you feel when you're like gonna leave your hometown or want to leave your hometown, and just kind of like the conversations and just the way they interacted with each other. That all felt very genuine and authentic.
Yeah, no, that was important to me, was to create like a group of guys and girls that you believed the relationships and you felt, the love and the heart kind of there between them. So that whenever the horror stuff did kick off, you would be more scared for them.
Right.
It would hurt more.
You really don't want them to get eaten. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, I really liked also it's really a father-son story and a coming-of-age tale. So I really liked that was kind of like the bedrock of that, of the story is basically that, but it's just embedded within the vampire tale.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that kind of like father-son thing, that sort of conflicted relationship that you see, especially you see that here, amongst maybe fathers and sons who work together in the family business, and there's a super kind of difficult dynamic between them, and they both kind of have pig-headed and have their own way of doing things, and that leads to, conflict, but it also leads to a lot of humor, and that's something that I've definitely seen kind of growing up, and and people I know, and just that sort of tone. I just thought that would be interesting to play with in the vampire genre. I hadn't seen that kind of relationship much before.
Yeah.
And like a fun kind of, like you say, bedrock and kind of heart for the film, because that really is the heart of the film, is the story between Francie and Eugene. The character the whole way through.
And there's a part with like a fake out hug. I was dying. That was really hilarious. You think it's gonna be like this heartfelt moment, like this character arc. It's all no.
That's how some people show emotion. In
I feel like that kept it realistic, though. Like in the realm of the story, it's like, oh look at this tender, it's like from like this hardened dude and there's this character arc and now he's like tender after all of this that they've gone through together. But like, no, that's not who he
No,
is.
like even like Francie kind of is just baseline annoyed all the time. Like
Yeah.
that's where he starts from, and it's like a sort of general annoyance, whether it's like the job is kind of going over time, or he has to kill this vampire, or his son's trying to hug, like all of it's just annoying him all the time. Like it's at the same sort of level. That was the thing for him. It was like he treats killing vampires and his relationship with his son like he treats dealing with his man or his work on the site. Like with this general sort of and hopefully that was we want to mind the humor out of that.
Yeah, no, it definitely came through. And I liked him still. Like I liked Francie, even
Oh
though
yeah,
he's
well,
like this.
Nigel, who plays Francie, was in the short as well. Like I've known Nigel for
Oh wow.
years and years, and he was the lead in my first movie as well. So I that part was written specifically for him because I knew he could pull off that level of kind of just that being that sort of ignorant dad, but also being really lovable as well.
Right.
So.
Like, I do want to hug you. I know you don't want me to hug you, but I want to hug you. Like, that's how I felt about him by the end. uh, Scrolling. Oh, the character effects in this, like the creature design, was really, really fucking cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, that was like something that was super important whenever we were conceptualizing the movie and putting the budget together, and in pre-production. For me, it was always like Avertac has to look, whenever we finally do see him, he has to look great. Like it can't, because I think you're always struggling in a movie like this with budget or whatever to with creatures, and especially if you want to do something that's a full body prosthetic. So the idea was always, it started from like this idea of bog bodies, which is like they're like mummified corpses almost that have been found in Ireland, like in the peat bogs. So they come out and they're all this kind of skeletal, tan, kind of leathery skin and stuff. And there's amazing pictures of them online, and we kind of just started from that and developed the creature design from there. And then we found an amazing actor, which is 90% of that. Well, a big part of that role is finding the right actor. So we got this guy called Robert Nairn, who'd done a load of creature stuff and was just really brought a real creepiness to the performance. And then Millennium FX, which are effects company from London, just knocked it out of the park with the makeup, and it was tough. It was a long time in the chair for him, but I think it paid off when we saw him. He looked great.
Yeah, he was great. The design of it was great, but also like he was amazing. Like his
Yeah,
performance was great. Like the way that he moved, I was like, "Holy shit, like this is actually quite scary." It's a horror
yeah,
comedy and I laughed a lot, but also like I was like there's genuine horror in there too and I was like, "This is scary as shit."
yeah. No, that's what we. Like, it was weird when the first day we did the makeup tests. Like the first time I saw him in the makeup, well, I almost actually cried whenever I saw me. And we were like, I can't believe this looks this good. And then we brought him onto the set where we were all shooting some scene, brought him onto the set, and everyone just went quiet. Everybody came walking onto this, and then they saw that he was wearing like slippers and a bathrobe, and then it became less scary. Like, but that first moment where they saw him, I was like, Jesus, he looks proper creepy. Like,
Yeah, that was a really good reveal because, like, fuck. And also, vampires have been romanticized, like, quite a bit. So it's like, this is not a vampire that I would want coming into my room at nighttime. You know, like, that's nothing
yeah,
romantic or sexy about that. Like, that's just straight
no,
up terrifying.
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it was just like, what would you look like if you were buried under the ground for hundreds or thousands of years? Probably something like that.
Probably exactly like that, I would think. And then there was another really cool element. The way that he extracts blood from his victims is different than what we've seen before. Is that something from the lore, or is that something that you guys made up for this?
No, that was something that we came up with. Again, like I say, it was taking elements of the Avertac legend and then sort of molding them into our own. We didn't want to try to do like something that was just a straight retelling of that. We just wanted to take it as a jumping off point and then create our own. And we just thought like that would be really cool, that this creature is so powerful that he doesn't even need to bite necks. He can just walk past you and blood will start kind of pouring out of you.
Yeah.
We just thought that was, would be interesting visually, and yeah.
That's very scary because anytime there's like a sense of like hopelessness in movies, like that's just very, very scary. It's kind of like you're just like fucked either way. So I was like, this guy is so powerful that you're just totally fucked.
Yeah, yeah.
was kind of the sense that you get, right? And you're like, I mean, I don't, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah, and then you're dealing with idiots, trying to like that was, that's part of the fun. Like,
Essentially, like the town fools, basically, or it's up to them to save
right,
the entire town.
guys who don't even think this is real, or didn't think this is
Yeah.
real, like so.
Yeah, that was that. All of that was a lot of fun. Is just watching them kind of like these bumbling anti-heroes, kind of just trying to like figure it out.
Yeah, like I think that like that for me is what I always like in movies when you see people like going back to what we were saying before, characters that you believe in terms of just they feel like real people, and then seeing them in these crazy heightened situations and seeing how they react to it.
Yeah.
That is where the comedy comes from, rather than trying to sort of overplayed jokes or whatever it is. That's the sort of tone that I like and what we're trying to strike in the movie.
Yeah, to me, that's the stuff that's the most funny. Like, it's just funny just because the characters are who they are, and it's how they would react in that situation. And it's just, I think that stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also
And
a
like
really cool.
like I said, like these guys, they treat killing vampires, like digging holes
Right, yeah.
on the work site, just all a day's work kind of thing.
There's a segment in there, I'll just call it the pole dance, with some cool effects, and that scene was
Oh,
funny
yeah.
as shit. Like, I was dying.
Yeah, no, that was always meant to be our big kind of like comedy horror reveal moment. Like, and
Yeah.
we played a lot around with that. Played around a lot with that in the edit. And shout out to the editor Brian Philip Davis, found an amazing piece of music for that and kind of brought it to our level. But yeah, no, that was fun. That was a hard one to get because we were shooting at night and so cold, and we shot that over like 3 different nights, and we got rained off one night because we were shooting in Ireland, and we had to come back at the end of the schedule and finish it off. So it took a while to actually get that sequence, but we're happy with how it turned out. Like, it's fun.
Worth it. I'm glad you guys kept at it and didn't just like cut it or something, because I feel like that super was like, and this is the movie that you're watching. Like, it just like super
no,
delivered on the tone.
100%. That was the moment where we had to get all of that, like, and that was definitely the hardest one in terms of effects and stunts and all that stuff. But it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, that was really cool. And also just the vampire design, outside of Oratek, outside of him, like the vampire design was really cool. Like, that's like
Yeah,
stuff
no,
I think cosplay worthy stuff.
yeah, maybe someday. We'll see. One of the, like, yeah, but it was trying, not to give spoilers away, like, but the different vampires in the film, we wanted to see different levels of where they were at. They're kind of in their, I don't know, decomposition, I guess, from relatively new, like they'd just been turned like a day or two ago, to someone who'd been turned, months ago. And yeah, so it was that there was definitely like and then obviously you end with Avertak, who's been dead for thousands of years. We wanted to see that through line of decomposition, different stages of it.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, I was like, okay, these are really cool looking vampires. And obviously they can't look like they've been buried in a peat bog for centuries because they were just turned. So
No, again, like, fair play. It was the actors, yeah, I don't want to say the actors' names so it doesn't spoil it, but the actors who played those roles, brought so much to them as well in terms of just the heart, and the relationships that they had with the characters, and the ferocity, and how scary they were. It was, we were lucky to have those guys playing those parts.
Yeah, there was nothing, like, there wasn't a single vampire in here where I was like, oh, cool, like, I would want this vampire to turn me. Like, all of the vampires in this movie are like, no, they're just like straight up rabid and will just like tear you into pieces. Like, I don't want to encounter any of these.
Yeah. I have maybe Irish vampires, I guess. They're not quite as suave as like Peter Swan from The Lost Boys or Tom Cruise.
They drink pints and then they tear you to shit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us? Any like fun stories from shooting or anything in particular?
Oh, I mean, fun stories. There what like fun stories from shooting. You don't have a lot of fun whenever you're shooting like a low budget movie in Ireland in the middle of the night. It was very cold, very wet, and very tough. But at the same time, it was actually a lot of fun. Like the cast and the crew that we had like really bought into the tone of the film and what it was we were trying to do, and the camaraderie that you see in the screen was there. In that cast, they were just an amazing group of people. We were really lucky to get them. You know, Jack Rowan and Louisa Harlan, Mick Hawk, and Nigel, and all of them. You know, they were fantastic. So it was a fun shoot, but difficult. You know, I definitely like if we ever do a sequel, it'll be like Australian vampires, you know, or somewhere warm.
Right. It's gonna be a tropical vampire movie next.
Yeah, exactly.
As the teaser for this, though, I'm gonna use the line where you said you don't have any fun on this set.
What's that?
For the soundbite for this, I'm gonna use the bit where you said it's not fun. There was no fun.
Oh yeah. That was a joke. That was a joke.
One more question for you. There's a part where Louisa is carrying somebody over her shoulder. Was she really carrying somebody? Is that a dummy? Was it a stunt person?
When she's no, that was her.
She actually carrying another actor on her shoulder?
Yeah, I don't want to say the bit like, but that I know the bit you're talking about, like where she puts her into the truck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, that was the actor. Oh yeah, Louisa's strong.
Oh my gosh. Okay, like I was like, wait, was she just carrying her out like that? What?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
cool. Just very
Yeah,
casual.
I remember that night as well. That was one of the last nights we were shooting, and Louisa wanted to do that. So yeah.
Oh, good on her. That's really cool. I was watching that, and for a second I did stop because I was like, I don't know that I would be able to do that. I like to think that I could, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, Louisa's tough.
Yeah, hell yeah, she is. Like, go Louisa. I'm impressed. That was cool.
Yeah, no, she's great as well. We were so lucky to get her. You know, I always love her from Dairy Girls, obviously, and she's so funny, and just brought a lot of heart, you know, to that role as well. And yeah.
I loved her. She's also a nice juxtaposition to the guys, and like their kind of like who they are as people, as characters.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, really, she like is the only one that talks any sense, and at certain points, you know, and she has probably some of the best kills as well.
Yes.
And not to spoil it too much, but yeah.
There were some really fun kills in this movie, but I will say, like, the finale, I was like, no, like, there's no way they're gonna do that, and then I'm just, like, had my face covered, like, screaming, like, no fucking way.
Yeah. I mean, that really just, like, that, again, not to spoil it, but that moment came out of the writing, really, and trying to write something for a low budget and do a finale that would be memorable when you know you don't have, like, a massive amount of cash to do something huge. I was just trying to come up with something that would be memorable.
I promise you, I will remember that for always. So there's no way that they're gonna go there. It's not gonna happen, and then it does, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah. That was a fun day with practical effects, but
I imagine. Yeah, I bet.
But it actually worked pretty well.
Yeah, and it was a perfect bookend too. Like, again, with like the tone of the film, you know, there's like some serious things happening, and then like this finale is like a badass finale, but also very much works with like the overall tone of the movie as a nice little like punctuation at the end.
Yeah. No, that's what we were going for.
Yeah, nailed it. All right, Chris, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for coming to hang out today. I'm excited for everyone to go and see this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for checking it out and enjoying it. And yeah, I really appreciate it. Great to talk to you.
I'm going to rewatch this again. This is probably going to be one I rewatch frequently because it's like right in my alley of like horror, comedy, dark, disgusting, fun stuff.
Well, yeah, no, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing it with an audience as well. I still haven't seen it with an audience, so
oh god, it breaks my heart every time I hear that because I know it's such a different experience when you have like the energy of people reacting to it. Like there's no substitute for that, really.
Yeah. No, but it's we're just glad that it's getting out there and people are getting the chance to see it. Like we're really looking forward to it.
Yes. So everyone go watch Boys from County Hell, streaming on Shudder Thursday, April 22nd. That's this week, so check it out. And I hope you get to watch it with an audience soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Angel.
Chris.
Cheers.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Chris for joining us. Make sure you check out Boys from County Hell, now streaming on Shudder, and let me know what you think. This was totally my jam. I fucking love horror comedy, and just outlandish, outrageous, kind of like almost comic book style gore where you're just like, how in the actual fuck? I live for that shit. So this movie was very much up my alley. So check it out on Shudder. Let me know what you guys think. And that's all I got. I'll catch you next week for some more spooky shit.